We are live. Hey, everybody on LinkedIn, YouTube, wherever else you might be watching this. Happy New Year. It's Manish Patel from Tricky Water, Get No Kudos. I'm here with my colleague and co host in our routine. I won't call it weekly, LinkedIn Lives here. And we have a really great guest brought to you by Tracy. I hope you all had a safe and calm and healthy holiday period. We're back into it, and what better way to do it than the first week of the new year? So, hey Tracy, how was your holiday time away, or was there any?
It was restful. I enjoyed taking 2 weeks just to detach from everything, especially a lot of digital stuff. So it was good.
Very good. So, without further delay, we're gonna bring on our guest. He is a colleague of Tracy with an unbelievably impressive background that I want he and Tracy to discuss. His name is Clive Roach, and he was kind enough to join us from Eindhoven in the Netherlands. If anyone's familiar with Eindhoven, that's where Philips had many different operations, and lots of great inventions came out of there. And I know I've been there once, so there was a really nice Argentinian steakhouse too that I went to. But aside from that, Clive's going to tell us more. So let's welcome Clive on to the stage. And Clive, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Well,
And I've
Clive.
eaten at that Argentinian steakhouse, by the way.
Oh, excellent. Yeah. Clive, if you and Tracy could maybe Clive tell us about your background, because I didn't say anything, because I think it's really so amazing and I'm really excited to have you here with us. If you could just give us a snapshot of your origin story and why you're in Eindhoven.
Yeah, so very quickly, I was very lucky enough to have two careers. So most people have one, I have two. So I was a lighting designer, lighting engineer for my first 15 years of my career, and I really loved that. So that got me into working with lighting, and in some way I'm still there. But for my first 15 years of lighting, I was a lighting designer, lighting engineer. I ran a department, a big department of lighting engineers and designers at one point. So I really liked the whole job of really understanding the technical requirements of the mechanical electrical industry, and then really understanding what the client wanted and applying that. And that little skill or process I took into social media. So I did hop into Philips in 1999. So I did 25 years at Philips. And I was kind of an entrepreneur, really. I came to Philips, there was no job there. I wrote to the recruiter. I said, I can do something with intranets. I really like that. And I think you're struggling with that. And they said, yeah, okay, you can have a job. You can join us. So basically, they wrote a job for me, stuck me in IT. And then I started innovating from there with intranets, internet, extranets. So I started to do that. Digital catalog. I created the first digital catalog for Philips Lighting. And then I was looking for something new, and social media came up in 2009. And so I became, I think it was actually, the development was very quick. So I started off with some people saying, Clive, you know something about social media? You've got Twitter. And then after 4 months, it's Clive, you're an expert on social media. And then by 10 months, Clive, you're a guru. And I was like, come on, guys. So at that point, they then gave me the first full-time job in Philips for social media. So in the center in Amsterdam, to try and guide the company through what is social media, what are the risks. So I work with IT, I work with marketeers as an evangelist to try and say, how could we use this new technology? I had a partner with me in the B2C area. So I mainly was in the B2B area, the B2B parts of Philips. And I did that. And I was given a mandate by the CEO at the time, Geert van Kijk, with a little BlackBerry. And so he said, Clive, I want you to really do this, and you have my authority to start. So that was really great. I really loved those years of people coming to me and saying, you've got Facebook on your computer, you're not allowed to have that. So
Yes.
that was really cool. So it was really good formative years, learned a lot of things. But then surprisingly, I thought I would leave social media in 2 years, but still here. So every week there's something new in social media, which is what's kept me still here, innovating and experimenting. So that's basically a short introduction to what I was and what I am now.
And well, thanks for that intro. And definitely before we leave here, we want to make sure we let people know how to get in touch with you in the future. And so you ended it with exactly where we want to start, which is social media, how it's evolved, and then of course Tracy, who is my resident AI expert, is gonna kind of guide the conversation on that. So Tracy, I'm gonna hand it over to you to have that
Yeah, like
chat.
with AI has really been changing our lives and how we work and how we create. So I'm curious what your thoughts are. Like maybe we can cover like the good, the bad, and the ugly with an example of each. So what do you think with AI? What to you is the good? Like what good can come out of it?
Well, I think the first thing to say is that just as my background is social media, right? So I think it's important to say this, is that if I look at the practical side with companies, it's like, can we do social media? Why should we do it? What are the risks? So I spent a whole day in an IT risks workshop creating these mitigations, and everybody was happy afterwards. Great, and I faithfully stuck to my Excel. I'm going to go through these mitigations, and I think the same is true of AI. So it's a shiny tool, but companies, if you look at the broad sweep of companies that most of us are in contact with or work for. I'm freelancing right now, so I get to talk to a lot of people. I do a lot of my work with Ravish, an agency based here in the Netherlands and around the world, but I do freelance with other customers, and it's really interesting. Also, my time at Philips, just before I moved on, I think it's really interesting that AI is seen as wow, how do we do this? How do we control this? There are risks with it. So I think the first thing to understand is that companies have to lay down a kind of a mandate, how they're going to introduce it, what they're going to introduce it for. And most companies shut off AI. You can't use ChatGPT. And, after a few months, maybe a year, I still read even now, companies have brought in their own versions of ChatGPT. So the security is there, completely understand that, and that's good. But then once you get past that, so AI is far more than ChatGPT, right?
Yeah.
So then you start looking at how can we integrate this new technology into how people work? And I'm basically going to be looking at more marketing and comms people, but mainly marketing. So when you talk about the good, bad, and the ugly, one has to kind of look at how well did they bring in AI into their processes, the processes they have, the procedures, and the day-to-day working. When it's done good, I think it really should take the heat off marketers doing stuff which doesn't allow them to use their special skills.
Mhm.
So we all know you, Tracy, and I worked with you for many years. When you're a marketer, it's not just that wonderful act of marketing, whatever. You feel really great at that campaign worked, you reach your targets and your ROI and whatever. There's a lot of reporting and
Yeah, it's just the tip of the iceberg to see the fun stuff.
That's right. You've got the stakeholder management. You've got all of that, right?
The data.
The data manipulation, and all that. So I see the good part of AI adoption is when you actually look at what a person has to do and how we're going to bring AI in to make the best of those roles. And therefore, we start to talk about agentic AI. We start to talk about how can processes be brought in that allow people to really use their expertise for where it's best placed. And I think that is where the good, bad, the ugly comes in, because some companies don't think that way and they just bring it in. And then you get maybe some of the younger people go, yeah, I'm going to just do what I want to do and stuff like that. Or people aren't aware of exactly how they should use it. And I think to give a good example of a bad example of that is what happened recently with Deloitte. So this is out there in the public domain, so I can mention their name. And I think that one shows that if you do it badly, and I'll explain what they did, it's a big reputational hit. So Deloitte is a company you would go to for research and for the fantastic minds that they have there. What should we do? What direction should we go in this marketplace and so forth? And the way I used to work, I used to have a methodology where three parts of a triangle. One part of the triangle was actually getting insights from third parties. So I used to, for years, be a client of Gartner or Forrester or eMarketer, things like that, that could give me information that I couldn't immediately reach. And so I trusted them, and I got close to those analysts that I liked by name. And so this is the information I need to convince my stakeholder that we're going in the right direction. So when you as a high-paying client go to Deloitte and say, yeah, I'd want a report like this, and then when it comes out that a lot of the references didn't exist, a lot of those things were just, somebody just went to ChatGPT and pulled it all in and didn't check. Nobody did a diligent check. That's where it blows up, right? So, I've been following the story a little bit. You see that the client is really upset. Look what I've got. And I think that reputational hit is huge. And it was really a small thing in a way that the person just took the stuff from ChatGPT, didn't check, and it goes. But it had a huge reputational hit. So that to me is a good example of the bad side, and maybe even really ugly side. Another example, I think, on the bad or ugly side is there was a financial technical news agency based in Asia, and they actually, if you read a particular report they did, and it looks like a broadsheet newspaper, and right at the bottom it says, would you like me to reconfigure the tone of this article and so forth? So they actually copied that closing paragraph from ChatGPT or Gemini, and it went out like that. So those are the examples where a little bit of diligence, well, actually not a little bit, a lot of diligence. And how do you use AI? How should company use it? If you haven't got that in, if you're listening today and your company is trying to adopt AI into its critical paths of how you do business, and this kind of thing is not regulated or checked, or you've really thought about how you're going to use it, you are likely to have something go really wrong with customers or potential customers and give you a reputational hit that could take years to recover from. And so those are the things where I think represent the kind of the bad and the ugly. But on the good side, I have seen some really good examples of where AI brought in, but not necessarily to a big degree, but where they've really thought, this is how I want to use AI, and really brought it into the normal business process. So it's actually doing a good job, but not in a heavy way. So there still is a lot of human diligence, human thinking, thought process. You still see the tone and the character of the person and what goes out, or the brand of the company. But quite clearly, AI has helped speed up, get to market quicker. And I think that's a really good use of it. But I've not seen a company yet go full on board with agentic AI. Maybe those brands are out there, but I haven't had personal experience of that. But of course, a lot of the tools that I use are already there. And I'm actually testing a tool right now. I'm going to do a blog post about it. Cool. Absolutely fantastic tool. I've never seen anything as good as this tool. And it blows me away, the amount of quality that's produced in minutes on such a huge breadth of tasks, from PR, what would you say in an interview, right through to the marketing brief, competitive brief, SWOT analysis, everything is just there. It's an amazing tool, and there's different agents you can fire off to go and do things, and so the tools are getting more powerful. But my big question is, and I think that's the thing we're grappling with, is how to onboard those so that the brand and the company and the reputational stance of the company doesn't take a hit, but the performance, speed to market, that all works. That's not an easy balance.
I appreciate those examples, because in my, let's say early stages still of getting on board with AI, nowhere near as expert as you or Tracy have seen. When you do something, I use ChatGPT to rewrite things for me, because I write like an engineer. And so ChatGPT has done a good job over time of capturing my tone and rewriting it. But, I also see that message in the beginning, right? When it gives you a draft, it says, oh, would you like this to be more, punchy, or would you like this to be shorter? You kind of got to watch those little details and delete it. And the more important side of that, of what you just said, which is terrifying, is people, in colleges and universities, professors tell their students, don't use, please do not ever, and I told my own children, please don't ever cite Wikipedia, ever, in a presentation, right?
Yeah.
And so this is kind of that same equivalent in the sense
Yeah.
that you need, at least in Wikipedia, you could actually go down the other thread, which is look at all the citations, right? Research without citations is not really research; it's just rumor.
Mhm.
And so I appreciate you bringing up that example too. Tracy, you were saying?
Yeah, I just think with AI, and Clive, you brought up so many good points, and people don't realize how powerful the tools are and how big they can go wrong when you have a fail. And I think having that, both the governance, knowing where you want to use AI and how, and then the guardrails to make sure that your brand tone, what you want to say, what you don't want to say are in place to protect you, and the due diligence to check the output. Like, I think sometimes people think it's a magic bullet and they get lazy with it, and that's how you get the issues where the prompt is included in your output by accident.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so I think having the AI literacy is important for anyone, whether you're a person, freelancer, or company. Having AI literacy, understand how prompting works because it is a system. And I think that's why, Clive, people like you and I, like you started with lighting design and then moved to digital and social media. And it's like a systems way of thinking. And AI also works very much like a system. And having that approach can help you understand how prompting works. And when you understand that, then you can guide it correctly, check the output, know where it excels, and know where it's not good. You brought some great examples about how it, like, the good. And I have also used it a lot for research. Like, I'm not a data scientist, but I can use AI to collect data, research it, and then analyze it so I can find out where there's trends, insights, and then I can take those summaries and make my own decisions on how I want to act on them, whether it's for social media marketing or my own website, for example. So I think by taking those tasks off off of our hands, like the very time consuming, working in Excel all the time, speeding that
Yeah.
up with AI can let people like marketers do more with the creative work, which I don't believe in outsourcing human creative, but AI can be really helpful to enable the creatives to do more.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, and I was going to say a very quick example of well, two things. The prompt, I call it prompt engineering. I kind of
Yeah.
dived into a little bit. I was absolutely amazed. Where you get these kind of prompts that are like books. That are written to kind of make the end result more human
Mhm.
or less human or wherever the goal is. So prompt engineering, I dived into that a little bit, but like, I copied and saved some prompts that I'm experimenting with, but it's like a whole field that I'm not going to go into that much, but it's kind of interesting. But so just on your point there about, I also use AI to do a little bit of research for me, particularly if I'm going into a blog and I want to cement some of the
Yeah.
stuff I'm already experienced or want to
Great
write
for
about.
fact checking too.
Yeah, yeah, and I give an example where I was shocked, right? So I personally had this happen to me. So I asked it, go and find instances of new innovations in the previous year to write a blog post. It's almost a year ago. I published that post now, and it went off and it found these new innovations, some of which I didn't see. But then when it went to a particular page, it did correctly get an innovation from the top part of that source and the bottom part, but then it took a sentence from the top, mixed it with a sentence in the middle, and said, that's a result. And all the time I was thinking, that don't seem right. And then when I actually then did my own research to fact checked it, it said, no, that company did not introduce that product. And then when I looked at the sources, because I used Gemini, so it gave the source of where it was, I looked at the page, it took the two separate lines and combined them. And that's just shows that you can't trust unilaterally everything that comes back from a result.
Right. Like, I always say that AI amplifies what you know and it amplifies what you don't know. So if you don't know the subject matter and you're relying on AI to do research and synthesize all that stuff, if you don't know the subject, you're going to get fooled and you can get embarrassed.
Yeah, yeah, very much so.
hey, Clive, you mentioned something in your intro about when you first put Facebook on your work computer and
Yeah.
how people's eyebrows were raised at that. And so, similarly speaking, I would say, I don't know when, maybe a couple of years ago, the same thing probably happened with ChatGPT until businesses started to rein it in a bit. But what I'm trying to get at is social media, which is where your involvement in all of this
Yeah.
digital space started. So if you could give us like an idea of where is social media and AI. Tracy mentioned the replacement of creative work, right? Creative human thinking, which at this point, every time I see an AI feed on my social media, I immediately block it or report it as spam. It's terrifying to see that, right? And I actually encourage others to do that. I don't necessarily want to see that. Some people are
So,
very
so,
misled by it.
so you're not a
I'll
fan
give
of
you an
AI
example.
slop, then, as they call it?
I'm not a fan of AI slop. Yes, thank you. That's
Yes.
also something new I learned in the last few weeks is AI slop, but it
Yeah.
is quite concerning and dangerous. I know people who are not like us, marketers in the game, are frustrated by it, but I know you during our introductory meeting mentioned some of your uses for it, and so I want again to hear from you your firsthand kind of like methods or techniques that you're using for social media for things like live streaming that you might do or podcasting where you've integrated AI into it effectively.
Yeah. So I think the very first time that it was used in anything I did at work, it was actually a very clever intern that I've got called Sophia, and I like to direct and write my own videos at work. And this manager said, "Clive, that crazy idea you have, we're going to do it." And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" So I thought, we've got to storyboard it. So I always like storyboarding it. So I gave it to my intern at that time to do that, and she used ChatGPT to storyboard it because it was a really crazy idea I came up with. And within minutes, she had like the guy going up a ladder doing this, and it was a great storyboard. So normally we have to, cut and paste or draw storyboards out. This is what we're going to do, scene one, scene two. And she came back within minutes. Look, here you go. And I was like, wow, that's a great use of ChatGPT. So that was kind of the first use of ChatGPT. They're a great example of what I said before, saving time,
Yeah, for the
getting to a
concept work.
result. Yeah, yeah. So the actual making of the video and everything else was done the normal way. But at least to get the storyboard there, that was one great use of it. And I think the other area that I first used it for was actually to show that you could actually take best practice and make a social media post that would perform 4 to 5 times better than one that was previously going out. So that was one of our first tests we wanted to do at the company that I last worked for when AI was coming in, and we had finally the go ahead to experiment with it. It was like, now let's take a set period of posts that were communication posts for 3 months prior, and now for the next 3 or 4 months, write posts with AI helping us to knowing our brand voice. We had a tool that knew our brand voice to maximize on best practice, what word should go first, in the middle, things like this. And then we compared the two, and you could see that uplift.
Incredible.
Really, it was like almost a vertical line. So it was, wow, the engagement just jumped. And we still kept to the brand voice because we still had legal checking it. We still had comms checking it. But you could see the subtle differences, right? So for years, I used to battle with my communication friends. Always like that. Social media was always like, you can't replace comms. I said, no, I'm helping you. So in this regard, sometimes, the old-fashioned way of doing comms is, you start off with, the company's proud to say, and I said, no, the bit they really want to see is at the bottom. You've got 9 seconds, you've got maybe 3 seconds to really get them. That has to go at the beginning. So there's a little thing like that, and And this tool said, no, consistently you have to do that. And I think that was one of the first uses that AI really did help to show that we can stay within the brand voice, but we can be very effective in how you structure the keywords and the sentencing to actually get more engagement on that post. That was a really breakthrough period for me, with this experimental thing, which then got approved and we started to use that company wide.
Okay.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, where have you used AI? Definitely the context that you provided is very useful because it just makes, it smooths the edges, I think, is how I look at it. I know for me, right? And I've learned of its, I've learned its limitations. Go ahead, Tracy.
Yeah, it's like the data crunching, like analyzing a large amount of social media content and finding the performance metrics of it, and then the content of each post, and finding out those patterns on like what's working, what's not working, be able to define here's what does well and here's what doesn't. Then you can take that and use that to inform your next post and do those tests.
Yeah.
Where otherwise I'd have to put everything into an Excel. And again, I'm not a data scientist, and like manually count or like try to analyze, and it might not have the right information, and AI would do that so quickly.
Yeah. And another example in the area that I really like, this is my top area. If anybody knows me, they know my top thing is social listening. I love doing social listening. I love that
Love it.
Investigation and, big data investigation and coming up with those insights. And for me, the coolest thing is when those insights are presented to the stakeholder and they go, yeah, that's good, we can use this. And then I like to follow it on a little bit to understand what they did with it and then I'm back again. But anyway, so here's an example where doing social listening, right, particularly on B2B, because it's a little bit more harder on B2B to get into the competitive landscape or a new trend and so forth. And so data crunching, going into all that data, trying to understand the proximity of keywords to come up with something relevant. Now AI, well, a few years ago, AI could start to say, you know what, here's a little peak. Let me investigate what drove that peak. It was this influencer at this moment in time talking about your brand or this new technology you're looking at. This is what happened. I was like, wow, I don't have to go deep dive into that peak and look at all the relevant posts and determine, is this an influencer, is that an influencer, what's going on here? The tool could analyze that peak or trough and give me the insights of what that meant. And that was one of my first uses of AI in a social listening tool that really saved me time, because I sometimes spend days on things like this.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's still a mystery at times to me, and it sounds like you've got some a technique. It's probably a mystery to most people out there, so definitely looking forward to learning more about that.
Yeah, I mean, we could have a session on just social listening. I could talk for hours on that.
I use it just for mining Reddit and any publicly available forum to get voice of the customer insights. Then I can, pack 100 of those into a spreadsheet and then use AI again to analyze that and find key messages. Yeah,
that's right. That's right. So that marketing intelligence, that process is just fantastic for me. It really is. And I love being able to use the insights on that. Because for me, one of the phrases I've used many times when I'm doing public speaking is, insights is my currency.
Yes.
Right? Insights can change things. Insights can tell us, should we do this or should we not? Is this market, this new angle favorable or not? Is it going to be a good sales thing for us or not? So I really like insights. And so I mine data in social listening to look at those insights and make a decision. Which one shall I present to the stakeholder, and then take it from there.
Yep. So I'm just curious your thoughts with marketing, because you mentioned B2B. So we have B2B, B2C, and D2C. What differences do you see between each of those in social marketing?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So, I mean, I've done a lot of B2C, but obviously the majority of my time is B2B. So certainly B2B is where you really are looking at long term. So it's a really long tail kind of relationship. You're really looking at trends. You're looking at how a company is perceived, the brand, the competitors, and understanding the supplier landscape as well to try and say, right, what kind of business relationships, business opportunities are out there for us in a business to business way. B2C, that's very different, right? So the timescales can be really short. I've done some B2C where it's literally, I don't know, 15 seconds. Post goes out, they like it, they buy, they click, buy, and then I've done setups where I used to really like tracking it, and then you work with people like Walmart and so on that allow you to track it all the way through, so you can see they actually did buy, went into the shopping basket and they buy, and those are the kind of things you can hook it up to loyalty system, and you can see and then look at the long-term outlook on that customer being somebody who's going to stay with you, loyalty, so forth. So B2C, you really are out there with the customer, and it's really 24/7, right? It's full on. And I've challenged people, pick any topic, and I think they said jam, or cake mix, and go, right, let's go social listening. The conversation is 24/7. It's happening right now. People talk. There you go. Right. So what we can do now, we can do posts. We can, B2B is like, no, it's not 24/7, and it dies down on the weekend most of the time. Peaks on a Wednesday, and it's a little bit more interesting. It has a different flavor to it. But B2C, customers out there doing something, and then D2C, direct to customer, similar to B2C, but now you're really looking at the personalized, the person. So you're really looking at, how do we do referrals to this person? How do we retain the loyalty of this person? Does this person come back and buy often? Can we put them into a personalization set, and then say the actions and the behaviors of that person is representative of this group, so that we can do this trick again? And so it's really direct to the person, really, and then trying to see if you can come up with a model or a process to repeat that right through to the loyalty. So social media works really well across those three, and you also have the government side as well, but it's slightly different. But essentially, B2B, B2C, and D2C. Hopefully that's given you some. There are a few more nuances between them, like budgets and other things that you can look at, but size of budget and the size of the data set normally is very small, and it could be millions on B2C.
So we have two questions actually from LinkedIn. First one is very, very hopefully simple for you to explain. It's from Tara, and it is just back to the basics. We'll roll back. What is social listening?
Okay, so social listening basically is looking at the conversation that's out there on platforms, whether it be LinkedIn, TikTok, Snapchat, even Meta channels, and using a set of keywords normally, so something you want to achieve. So it could be, let's make something up. Let's say iPads, the price of iPads, right? Let's say. And so you want to now understand, what is the conversation about the price of iPads? I did something similar to this, by the way. It wasn't iPads. And then you can actually create a set of keywords. People wanting to buy iPads, people who've just bought iPads, and people who are talking about gifting iPads, let's say. So you can then create those sets of three keywords and go and investigate language, country combinations, and then you come up with a result. So in this region, people are really talking about iPads and buying iPads, and this region, people are really shy of the price, and in this region, they love their iPads, and so you're really looking at the whole data, different languages, and coming out with insights. So you're really deep diving into the data. And the data is presented in various ways: graphs, pie charts, all kinds of things. So you can evaluate peaks and troughs, and you can see influencers. So that is social listening, really. It's kind of like having a glass to the wall and listening to all the social conversation, and then be able to take out what you need to make a decision.
That's excellent, because the next question is from Gilbert, and his question is, he loves social listening, and you just said you could have a lot of data. So what tools do you use, or what judgment do you use to decide where to draw the line or boundaries for what insights are actually valuable to your objective?
Right. So I'm going to be very quick on the first part because there were, I think I did an Excel sheet a few years back, and I think it was 118 social listening tools that are really good. But now that list has grown. I have to say I'm a bit biased. My favorite tool has been Sprinkler for 10 years. So
Yeah.
that's the tool. It's kind of on the high price side, but it's excellent. So that's that one. But I have experience of lots of other tools as well, like Hootsuite, the Sprout Social as well. There's a lot of tools out there. So I'm not going to go through all that list because it's quite a long list. I don't want to be too prefer one over the other, which I kind of just did. But you can also do things like what Tracy said. You can just go and scrape a channel and manually put those things into an Excel or whatever, and then put it in Excel. You can, if you've got the paid version of ChatGPT, you can say, now tell me the insights on this. So you can actually do it yourself very, very easily and cheaply. It's just how to analyze data and come up with insights from it.
I'm sorry, we've hit about 35 minutes, and I wanted to give you a chance, Clive, to just do a quick, because one thing I'll mention to the folks watching is we had a great time during our introductory discussion, and we talked about doing more of these if we ran out of time, and because there is just more than we can possibly cover. But in the interim, how do people get a hold of you and learn more? Are you teaching any classes? Because people sure need to learn a lot. If you don't mind sharing some more of those, how to get a hold of you and connect with you to learn more, that would be helpful.
Yeah, so I often do present at events, but the quick and easy way to get hold of me is cliveroach.com. That's easy, to cliveroach.com. And there you'll see a link to my blog. You'll see a link to my podcast. Anything, you see a link to all my channels. So I'm on X, I'm on Pinterest, Facebook, of course. I'm on Snapchat as well, TikTok. Crazy stuff on TikTok, don't look. And then that's where my crazy side comes out.
Nice.
Instagram, a lot, Instagram stories. I post every day on there. So yeah, I'm on all channels, LinkedIn as well. So almost all channels I'm on. And generally speaking, when a new channel comes out, I always go on there to try it out. So I'm on Blue Sky. Yeah, quite a few. You'll see me there.
So you're easy to find. But Tracy, I don't know if you had any final thoughts or questions for Clive before we sign off here, because we could probably go the full day.
We could keep going. I know Clive mentioned something interesting about B2C and D2C with personalization, but I feel like how you use AI to amplify personalization on a D2C channel could be a future topic, possibly.
Yeah, could be. Yes, indeed.
That could be. And I definitely, I think for a future topic, if we were to draw a grid, as Clive did, from B2C, D2C, and B2B perspective, I would also like to add another layer to that, which is large enterprise, small enterprise. And I'll leave you with one comment someone I saw that was pretty brilliant, about a small business entrepreneur like myself, like Tracy, like you, is when you say you're a small business owner, you're actually you're not just your self-employed or your own employer, but you bought a business to pay yourself a salary. Is kind of an interesting perspective, and it shows your commitment to I do appreciate that side of it. I appreciated that comment because it was complimenting us smaller entrepreneurs. But I want to talk about big business, small business, who's doing it well, and who's got opportunity to grow. So, Clive Roach, thank you so much for joining us.
Been a pleasure.
It's really been wonderful to get to know you. Tracy, thank you for bringing Clive to our discussions. I know we'll be having many more this year. We're going to try to stay focused on the things that can help us, help our colleagues out there on LinkedIn or wherever grow and learn. That's kind of why I'm doing this, right? As opposed to just LinkedIn posting back and forth and chatting and typing. It'd be great if we were in the same coffee shop doing this, but we'll deal with this as our current approach. But thanks,
Mine's
guys.
a cappuccino. Mine's a cappuccino.
Yours a cappuccino. Okay. And if I do make my way back to Eindhoven at some point, we're gonna hit that Argentine place.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for joining us. And again, this will be available always on LinkedIn, and you can also find it on YouTube at Tricky Water. Thanks, Tracy. See you in downtown Somerville.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.